I just tell people the house isn't the memory, it's the stuff that happened in the house. That's the memory. And you get to take all of that with you.
You're listening to Smart Moves with your hosts, Ann Riley Caldwell and Matt Wilson.
Hey, welcome to Smart Moves, the podcast where we help you make smart and strategic moves when it comes to buying and selling and financing real estate here in Middle Tennessee. And sometimes we give you life advice too. So in this episode, we're excited to see you, and we are going to talk about the emotional side of moving. There's letting go, starting fresh, and getting settled. So anyway, I'm Ann Riley Caldwell, not your ordinary agent, and I'm here with Matt Wilson, branch manager and loan officer extraordinaire with New American Funding. He and I are going to go into territory that we don't usually go into, and that's talk about emotions. So everybody, hold on. This is going to be maybe our most exciting podcast so far, and there probably will be life advice in this one. Sometimes we get to that, and sometimes we do not. When I suggested this topic to Matt, he can tell you what his response was.
I don't think I want to talk about that, Ann Riley. I'm sorry.
But obviously he likes me well enough that I convinced him that we really needed to talk about it. The one thing that happens, we've got tons of podcasts, as most people do, all about rates and all about moving and all about statistics and all about all kinds of stuff that come up on your in your transactions as you're going through the process of getting pre-approved. We even did some two compelling podcasts about the purchase and sale agreement that if you haven't seen them, you should stop what you're doing and go watch it. But anyway, the one thing that, I think it doesn't come up in every transaction because some people are just very numbers oriented, especially investors and stuff like that. But for a lot of people, one of the things and the reason why AI is not going to take our jobs, in our opinion, and the thing that we deal with quite a bit is emotions. Emotions can run high for all kinds of reasons. It's most of the time, people are making a life change, whether that's, I've just decided I don't want to rent anymore, which is somewhat lower emotion, but also very stressful for people because they've never been through the process before. People upsizing because children and family continue to grow, downsizing because kids have moved out and you've got all kinds of memories in that home if you stayed there, throughout your kids' lifetime. So far, obviously, sometimes, unfortunately, people get divorced, people pass away, people relocate, whether they want to necessarily or not, for work. We also have military relocations here because of Fort Campbell in the Clarksville area, of course. People have health issues and sometimes they have to make moves into assisted living. And then, the big thing that I get a lot of right now is multi-generational living, where we have either adult children moving back into the home with their parents because things haven't gone a certain way, or we have adult children moving their parents into homes because they're needing to take care of them for health situations. We also have some people that just enjoy coming back together and living together with multi-generations. So from all of that, there's just emotions can sometimes be heightened and things can happen. And, we're not just here to do transactions on pieces of paper and just focus solely on numbers. We're really here to try to help people get into the home that is best for them and to do it, at a time that makes the most sense for them, whatever that looks like. And often the life triggers, are more impactful than the financial ones. Don't you see that quite a bit?
Oh, for sure. I think that it's actually, as much as I don't like to admit it, because I try to think like I'm Mr. Analytical, but I think that actually it's the feelings of the matter that are what really activate change for people and make them want to move or whatever. Maybe it's a situation where somebody doesn't want to move, but they have to because, like you said, bad things happen. Somebody passed away, there's a divorce, whatever. But yeah, I think that ultimately that's the catalyst. Using myself as an example, one of the times that I decided to quit renting was because I wanted to get a dog and couldn't rent with the dog at the place I was at. So with that being the case, I was like, well, I guess I need to buy a house so that nobody can tell me what to do. So there was a feeling in that. Now, later on, that dog, I wouldn't say has been an emotional support animal for me. She and I are at odds most of our life. But on the other hand, because I bought that house, it made me $75,000 last year. So that was pretty cool. Thank you, dog. Her name's Nala. We've got two golden retrievers for those that care, because we're that kind of basic family. That yeah, we got Nala and Millie. Millie's my little buddy though. She's the newest addition to our family. She's also an escape artist.
Yeah, we talked about that. The
Yeah,
dog that knows how to open doors.
she does. I wish her previous owner had disclosed that information before I left her home alone. But now we know. Now we know.
Yeah, never put anything past the dog. They're even smarter than we already know that they are. Yeah, I mean, emotion wise, I've seen people get nervous about making decisions because they don't want to make the wrong decision. So sometimes it's hard for them to finally say, yes, this is the house for me. I've also seen the opposite of that. I mean, my experiences, fortunately, have always been, even when I was renting before I was ready to buy anything, every time I walked into a place, I just knew. I don't know that everybody gets to have that experience, but I mean, every single place I've gone, yep, this is the one. From the apartments that I had when I was in law school and moved to California, because I was not going to buy anything in California, to when I moved back to Tennessee, which is where I've grown up here in Nashville. The first time I bought a townhome, I went and looked at like 4 or 5 of them, I think, all in one day. And the moment I walked into the one, I'm like, this is the one. So in that regard, I have not had a lot of regrets about places that I've lived because I've just always kind of known. And one of our clients that we just closed last year bought a single family home, kind of a tall and skinny type thing in Clarksville. And she literally cried at closing. Oh, and it's like she just had all this pent up emotion. Like, she had owned a home many, many, many years ago. So it was like her being a first time home buyer and watching that. I mean, literally as she's signing the last documents, tears just started to come down. And Matt and I kind of agree. We're both a little bit less emotional probably than a lot of people. And we both use our analytical brains to sometimes override the emotions. So even though I can speak for myself, but I think Matt agrees, I don't always show it. I really do care about my clients and what they're going through and the emotions that they're feeling. I am sympathetic and empathetic. You just maybe can't always tell because I have more of a poker face about a lot of things. But I mean, there's nothing greater than watching people realize that they made the right choice and the right decision and watch, the actual outcome of them being thrilled and happy about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first off, for sure, I'm also somebody that's more analytically driven and overrides emotion as much as possible. I mean, nobody perfectly does unless they're Data from Star Trek, digging deep on the nerd references there. I don't even like Star Trek. I'm a Star Wars guy. Come fight me, whatever. Anyway, as far as as far as like my personal experiences with like feeling the one about a house, I agree. That being said, I've not followed that feeling, and that wound me up living down the street from a crack house one time. So that was fun.
Oh,
Maybe do follow that feeling to a certain extent. That being said, maybe for that your first house, it's probably not going to feel as the one-ish as your third house will. You don't even know what you like and don't like. Whenever you're getting into the first house, there's lots of things. Even in my current house, like the cabinet door is open into the microwave in the kitchen. That annoys the crap out of me. Nothing that, 25 cents of little sticky rubber things don't fix, but still, that's an annoyance. This house, I kind of felt that way about, but funny enough, there was one before this that I actually called you about and, I told you, hey, I got a contract on this house. I really like it. Like, I feel perfectly at peace about it. And then I acknowledged I may feel at peace because this still ain't going to work out. I don't know. And it didn't work out. So, maybe that's the peaceful feeling sometimes is like, it ain't going to be a bad move because it ain't going to be a move at all. The next house will, as it was in my case. And that's what I saw for a lot of people last year, honestly, was, I know you did too, that there was a lot of people that they got a house, they fell in love with the house. And they found out there was all kinds of gremlins in the basement in the house and decided that they didn't like that house anymore and they were going to try for the next house.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of inspection issues lately. And then I think we touched on it in another podcast, but I mean, it's crazy the number of people that live in their home and they don't upkeep it at all. Like they just watch
For
it
sure.
just slowly go down. And so, yeah, I mean, I've never run into so many inspection issues as I did last year. I mean, one of our poor clients, they made it to house number 3 before we actually got somebody to fix the inspection issues that needed to be fixed. So, and that's very emotional. I mean, within the transaction, I mean, I've been very fortunate. I've had fantastic clients with only a couple of exceptions, and I've had a ton of clients. So thankfully, I mean, I haven't had anybody other than a couple of people really take me on an emotional roller coaster on purpose. So that's been a great thing. When they take you on purpose, that's a whole nother podcast. But anyway, but I mean, it's really hard because people have started thinking about, does my furniture fit? Do I need to go buy new furniture? Oh, this is great for this reason. That's why we put an offer on this house. And then having to just navigate and let them know that this just happens. Sorry. And I truly believe that people get the house that they're supposed to get. So, I mean, there's often times when people can't pull the trigger, like right today, and the house goes under contract to somebody else. I've watched those houses come out of contract, and some people were able to get them after all. The timing, for whatever reason, just wasn't what it needed to be. I mean, one of my clients was a seller client. She ended up renting now. But unfortunately her husband passed away, and without his Social Security money and other stuff that was coming in, she could not afford her payment, and she needed to get the equity out of her house. And in that situation, she was awesome. We got along great. We're still friends. And she was coming up against the deadline of them wanting to start foreclosure procedures. She was still making her payment as best she could. There was a fight with the mortgage company, which I think she would have won if she would have pushed it, about what her mortgage payment was supposed to be. Somehow they wanted to change her mortgage payment. It made no sense whatsoever. So anyway, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that goes on that people don't anticipate because it probably should not even be happening. But all of that to say, we got a contract after going through people liking it, saying they were going to write offers. They didn't. And then at the last minute, that contract fell through. I think something happened with their financing. I can't remember. Matt didn't have anything to do with their financing, by the way. And then it came back on the market, so now she's even more stressed because we're getting even closer to having problems, and I'm telling her what to tell the mortgage company to hold them off and all this other kind of stuff. And pretty quickly a second contract came in, and honestly it was even better because based upon the deal points and how it was written, she netted more from that second contract than she would have gotten from the first one. So even when it doesn't look like things are going well, even when it looks like things are going to go off the rails, even when you're pushing deadlines and stuff like that, I just tell people, hang on. I've seen all kinds of miracles. I've seen all kinds of last minute things happen. If the house is supposed to sell to this people, it will. If you're supposed to have this house, you will. So I try not to get too stressed out, because also when other people are stressed, I think me being less stressed and having seen all the stuff I've seen helps them look at me and see, well, she's not stressed, so maybe it's going to be okay.
hmm Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and that's probably also what contributes to my philosophies as far as the analytical versus emotional side of things. I could tell you that out of the who knows how many hundred deals that I've closed so far in my career and thousands of people that I've talked to, that almost always it works out okay. No matter what's going on in the middle of it, like, low appraisal, home inspection issues, holy smokes, we got to move out this day or else we're going to be homeless, whatever. It pretty much always works out one way or the other. Now, you got to do your part, send in your documents, take action on looking at a house to begin with, not sitting there and evaluating the house for a week while somebody else whoops in and takes it. That sort of stuff for sure. But yeah, like one thing that I've seen is like, earlier this week, I'm working with a for sale by owner situation where it's a family deal. They got an appraisal back, and on the appraisal, it had a few repairs. I could tell that she was a little bit worried about it. And I was like, look, you know, this happens on a lot of deals and they still close. It's really not that crazy. Like just go talk to your family member and let them know what the repairs are for us to get the thing across the finish line, and y'all figure out how you want to do it, and then we'll get it across the finish line. That's all there is to it. I think that if you freak out alongside them, it doesn't serve anybody. I mean, think about if you were on an airplane and you hit turbulence and the pilot jumped up in his chair and screamed too. It would not inspire faith in the rest of the flight, right? Like as it turns out, almost every real estate transaction ever has some variety of turbulence. Right now I'm working one that should be super easy. Well, because we can't figure out between a bunch of individuals whether it's a single family residence or a condo, then it's being less than easy for a second. It's going to work itself out. I don't know how yet, but it will. So anyway, I think that that's another perspective thing to have too. Now, I also have to acknowledge this. I take that mentality with all my clients, and I do everything that I can to be as cool as a cucumber for all my clients the entire time. But I also don't want to be so detached emotionally that they think I just don't give a rip. So I do think for me, there's a little bit of a fine line there. And I also will tell you, I was far less emotionally detached whenever it was my own house that I had on the line and that I was trying to decide what to do with from house A to house B potentially and all of that. Because in my personal situation, I had gotten my previous house in contract with full anticipation of buying the first house. That didn't work out. My house is still in contract to sell, so I got to find something now. So, there again, it still worked out. I think I'll wind up with a better place that's more suitable for me. I think that's what pretty much all of our clients that we've ever worked with would say is that even if one thing doesn't work out, the next one does, and they like it better anyway.
Yeah, I would say timelines are one of the things that stress people out, especially if they have to be somewhere for a job or they have to get out of a place because of a lease. And then, they just don't think they have anywhere to go. Those are the most stressful ones. I mean, because it's really hard to find reasonable short-term living options. So that is definitely a time that I see people ramp up, their nervousness. Some people have to move into Airbnbs, which aren't always the cheapest. And, obviously if you have some financial flexibility, you've got more, options open to you. Some people, have friends or relatives that they can move in with, even if they're all smashed together for a few days or a couple weeks. I mean, most of the time people figure something out, but I would say you definitely see timelines get ramped up. And I think you know something about that.
Yeah. Like I lived with my in-laws for a couple of weeks as a result of the contract changeover. Love them to death. Was it ideal? No, I was in a loft. They also have a dog that can open doors and like to come visit and make a lot of racket in the loft in the middle of the night while I was trying to sleep. So, anyway, we were also in a loft. So every morning when anybody woke up at 4:30 to eat cereal downstairs in the kitchen, you could hear the entire experience from up in the loft. It was great.
Oh yeah.
So, you kind of sometimes have to adapt and overcome to the circumstances. I think that, there's also the joy side of it. It's not all negative emotions or stress. There is a lot of stress and negative emotions, but there's also the fact that, you've got a lot of people that, they're moving somewhere else because they want their kid to be in that school because they feel like it's going to give them more opportunity, or it's a bigger backyard that's fenced in for their dogs, or it's, closer to grandma or farther from your mother-in-law or whatever. I love my mother-in-law, just joking. It's, what I'm saying though? Like there's lots of different happy reasons somebody may be moving. And, I don't think that should be discounted either. Now, along the same lines as not letting emotions run the show and freaking you out too bad whenever you're on your lows. Also, probably don't let them run the show too much on the highs where you wind up making a dumb decision because you're so excited because it's the perfect house that's, across the street from your best friend from childhood, and you don't pay attention to the fact that Pennywise the clown lives in the basement or something like that. Like, there's reasons that you should probably also keep some level of analysis to things, but that's also why I think it's important to have a good agent and a good lender in your corner is to help weigh things out with you. I know that you operate in a similar way, but my whole mentality is like, I don't ever tell anybody what they should do. If they ask what I would do, I'll tell them what I would do. But I just show them different options, talk pros and cons. It's their house. They got to make the mortgage payment, not me. So they need to know why, and be satisfied with that decision.
Oh yeah, I say that to people all the time. I mean, if you want my opinion, I'll give it to you. I sometimes stop myself and I say, "Do you want my opinion?" Or let's talk through the pros and cons or something. But at the end of the day, I always say to people, I'm not living there and I'm not making the mortgage payment. So I try to take as much stuff off people's plates as I can. There's a lot of things that sometimes start to go sideways that I deal with that my clients never even knew were happening in the background, because there's no reason to stress you out until it really becomes an actual thing. I mean, there's just stuff. And so sometimes you don't even know that it was happening, because I was able, or Matt was able, or together we were able to avert a potential issue or to even a disaster. If you need to know something, I always make sure that you know it up front. I try to get as much information about the situation before I take it to my clients. I mean, Matt and I both can agree that we are huge on communication between ourselves, communication with our clients, communication with the title company. I mean, every title company that I work with, unless my clients really want to work with somebody else, it's all about communication. I'm like, do not let me be surprised. Do not tell me that there's some mysterious lien out there at the last minute when you knew about it 2 weeks before and you were just hoping to fix it. Like I do not want people fixing things in the background without me knowing that they are issues that are being fixed. I try to anticipate issues ahead of time because of my legal background. Even though I can't give you legal advice, there are things that I see, especially like in probate situations or maybe divorce situations, things that probably need to be dealt with up front, or we need to find out if they're going to create an issue somewhere along the way. So the more that we can be proactive, and you can tell Matt and I what your real situation is going on, what the real relationship between parties is. We did a whole episode on multi-generational homes, and I have a lot of clients that's what they're looking for. You've got multiple people involved. You've got multiple people involved in the decision of what cities are going to work, what type of house is going to work. Do they really have to have a second kitchen somewhere in that house for the person that shouldn't be cooking because of factors? I mean, and ultimately what works the best, if we can achieve it, is one person being the spokesperson for everybody else and them conferring with everybody. I mean, obviously I can have, and Matt can have conversations with everybody. Sometimes that's necessary because people don't have all the information, like they want pie in the sky. I have to have a house that has all these things, and that just does not exist at your price point. So sometimes I need to be the person to talk to that person that's not being realistic. But most of the time, I think in the deals that we've done, it's been pretty easy to have one person sort of step up and be the communicator to everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. I typically see that on the mortgage front too. There's some of them where, depending on who the business person in the house is, basically is who I wind up talking to most of the time. I try my hardest to encourage them to do a Zoom meeting at the very start, at least, so that we can all join together. And if the other spouse or other partner or other parent or whatever is not there, then we record it and send out a recording. But yeah, I think that's another factor too, because there can also be conflicting emotions, I think, throughout the process between the parties involved, if there's multiple people involved, for sure. I'm sure you've seen this plenty, but I've seen a lot of deals where I can tell the entire time that one spouse wants the house and the other one could care less. They typically approach it accordingly. Like it makes it where one of them sends everything that's needed to make it happen real fast and easy, and then the other one is like pulling teeth to get them to update their pay stubs with you. So it just, in that situation, I think probably before you buy the house, you might should consider some counseling or something just to work on some things before adding a new life stressor and all that. But yeah. And two, like, I only halfway joked earlier about the whole like crack house down the street thing. That's a real story. That's legit. It happened. that was the catalyst for me deciding to run my own numbers, because I emotionally thought leading into things, we're not positioned to move yet. We're not ready to move yet. I do this for a living every day. I run numbers for hundreds of people a month, and I'm I'm not ready to do this yet until I finally sit down, take a dose of my own medicine, and I'm like, think through this as if you were your own client, Matt. What would you do in this situation? Because hanging out in this house for much longer ain't it. And when I did, I was like, huh, I can't believe it. I could actually do something I didn't think I could do just yet. Did I feel completely emotionally ready to do it? No. But at that point, the numbers showed me that it was a possibility that I hadn't considered, because I had it in my head, just like a lot of my clients, that I got to pay off all my debt before I go buy my next house. I don't want to have to deal with it. I paid off a lot of it, lot of it, but I didn't quite pay off all of it. And it's fine. I was able to buy a house at what I feel like was a good time at a decent price.
Yeah, I give Matt a hard time because on a podcast, if you go back to probably one of our first two or three, Matt actually said the words, "I am not moving anytime soon." And then we kept going. And then I swear to maybe 3 weeks later, he calls me and says, "Guess what? I'm buying a house." I'm like, "You're doing what?" Where'd that come from? Oh, I ran numbers for myself. I'm like, okay. Congrats.
Yep. So even the mortgage guy does crap like that too.
That's right. And then the rocket just took off from there. Next thing you know, here he goes. I mean, it was a quick turnaround, all things considered. That was crazy. So, of course, on another podcast episode, you can go back and see. I don't remember which one. I did give him a hard time. So that will probably come back up again like it did today. And then one other thing I'll just touch on, because we do have so many relocation people here in Middle Tennessee, and it's not slowing down. Some of them are moving here because they want to be closer to family that has lived here for a while, or even just moved ahead of time. But we also get a lot of people that are moving here because they want to be here for multitudes of reasons, and they just don't really know anybody. So there's obviously a lot of stress in that. That's one of the great things about us working all over Middle Tennessee. I just don't know a lot of agents that will drive 2 hours in every direction, north, south, east, and west, and actually know the differences between all the cities. On my YouTube channel, I mean, one of the big things I put out are city tours and pros and cons of living in different cities, which have helped a lot of my clients ahead of time decide if they even wanted to bother to go look at something in a specific city. But I mean, there's a lot of emotions obviously attached to that, because you're really nervous because you don't know. I mean, some of these people have never been here before, or they've just come here on vacation and they went to like 3 places, but they know that that's where they're called to live and this is where they're coming to. So with that, I always try to encourage people. Again, I feel like you're going to know when you know. I can give you a lot of details and information about what the city's like, or how rural it is, how urban it is, how urban it's not. We can look up statistics, how close it is to hospitals or their work or whatever. Again, price point plays a huge part in Middle Tennessee because it's so diverse, and what house you can get for your price point is going to vary tremendously from one place to another. I have tons of people wanting an acre plus of land. I've seen more and more people honestly not wanting to be in a typical subdivision. But as we talk through all those things, I mean, there are definitely places that will start to rise to the top, as we say, and then we go look at them and, give people the opportunity to check it out and see if that's where they want to be. But there's obviously just stress and emotions that are a little bit different with that, because you're just not quite sure. But I have a lot of clients that thankfully have taken the time, and they drive to a lot of those cities where they're finding houses before we ever even go look at a house to see if it's even an area that they want to live in. That saves us all a whole lot of time, dragging around looking at 10 houses in a place that they go, "Oh, I would never live here." Okay, we could have figured that out. So I'm very grateful, because I have a lot of proactive clients that I set them off in a direction. I had a couple that was looking at like 3 or 4 different states, and I mapped out an entire way to move around Clarksville that was efficient for them, that were different subdivisions and areas. I told them, what was around them, what to go look at, and all that kind of stuff. And they were very happy. They did that on their own and then decided that Tennessee's not where they wanted to be. So anyway, there's a lot of resources that Matt and I can give you to help you make a lot of those decisions too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And to a lot of out-of-towners, the entirety of Middle Tennessee is Nashville. So,
as long as you're within
whatever.
an hour and a half, it all counts.
Yeah, I claim Nashville, and I'm about an hour away in real life. So there you go.
It's just a thing. It's been that way since I was little, before everything exploded. It's just like there was just Nashville and all the stuff around it just counted. So that hasn't really changed over the decades. And if anything, it's gotten larger and the radius keeps expanding.
Yeah, I'm just jealous of all you with your 615 area codes,
I know. You got to get them while you can.
Yeah, I don't have
If
one.
a number
Mine's
becomes
931.
available, you better grab it because they're not easy to get anymore.
I should. It's a hot commodity.
Yeah, life tip. There was a life tip right there.
There, if you're coming from out of town and you want people to think you're really from here, get a 615 number, and they'll think you lived here your whole life.
That's right.
Now, your California accent or New Yorker accent will probably give you away, but
we can't
wonder
fix
how you got the
everything
number.
for you.
Yeah, just
we
hang
can't
out.
fix all of your issues. We'll fix as many as we can.
Go to a tractor pull for a couple hours. That'll take care of that.
Well, and I think the secondary zip code for things outside of Nashville is 931. So,
Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. So if you're in the know, if you can't get 615, 931 is probably your next best option if Verizon or whoever will give it to you. All right. Well, that actually was less painful. Speaking of emotions, and Matt and I thought it was going to be. I think we survived it. Hopefully you survived it. Part of the point was to let you know that we truly, truly, truly are not just about transactions. We know it's emotional. We know that positive emotions, negative emotions, everything. It's kind of, I think we talked about in the last podcast when we were talking about the Iran war. This is what we do. We put these random things together and film them all in one day. We talked about EKGs. And the fact that they're up and they're down and they're up and they're down, just like mortgage rates are up and down and up and down. So emotions can be up and down even when people are excited and they can't wait to get into their new home, or they're good with selling the home that they have because they're excited about the next chapter in their life. I always tell people, yes, you're leaving a place, because when people decide to downsize or decide to move, there's obviously a lot of times, not all the time, there's sadness there because of all the memories. But I just tell people the house isn't the memory. It's the stuff that happened in the house. That's the memory. And you get to take all of that with you. So anyway, that was pretty profound. But anyway, it is true. The memories don't die just because you moved locations. You just get an opportunity to create new memories somewhere else. So hopefully that was helpful to someone. But yep. So as always, we're here for you to help answer your questions, real estate, mortgage, and obviously life. Sometimes we get hit with those when I'm out showing houses too. So I do what I can to help you in any way, and so does Matt. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, you were watching the Smart Moves podcast with Ann Riley Caldwell, Not Your Ordinary Agent, Matt Wilson, New American Funding. We're always here for you. So reach out to us anytime you have questions, and we are here to do everything we can to make your move smart, strategic, and as stress-free as possible.